Hello, my name's Brian Doak, and this is my talk on how neuroscience-informed practices can help educators. I am a graduate student at Concordia University, Nebraska, where I am pursuing my master's in education. I have been passionate about neuroscience-informed practices since my undergrad program, where my senior thesis was on using mindfulness-based initiatives to help teach kids social emotional skills so they can be more successful in the world around them. Neuroscience informed education has been kind of a touchy subject. And I'm going to point to an article that was released in 2002 by Hook and Farah. They initially cite another academic, John Brewer, who says that the gap between neuroscience, like what neuroscientists understand, and what we do as educators is too broad. And I can understand how that thought was popular at that time. But I believe since the 90s, we have learned more about neuroscience that is relevant to educators. In the study by Hook and Farah specifically, they gave questionnaires to teachers who attended a conference on neuroscience-informed practices. And what they found in those surveys was that teachers were frequently there because the subject interested them specifically. And that it's through the understanding of neuroscience that teachers can make decisions, explicit decisions, based on an understanding of themselves and their students, rather than perpetuating practices that are harmful and are only perpetuated because of appeals to tradition. But I would like to talk about specifically how we can use mindfulness-based initiatives to have a concrete plan of action for educators. And again, it goes back to mindfulness-based initiatives. And I want to talk about a term popularized by a researcher with the last name Goleman, who talked about emotional intelligence, and that's amygdala hijacking. Amygdala hijacking, we don't use that term when we do a MindUp curriculum. MindUp is a specific curriculum produced by the Hahn Foundation that has neuroscience curriculum that you teach children so they understand. Right? And so part of this curriculum is you teach children about the job of their amygdala, which, to use the MindUp terminology, is the security guard for your brain. Right? For kids who come from trauma, the amygdala, which is like the part of us that's looking, is there a tiger? Right? It starts fight, fight, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. Right? And for kids who come from trauma, the amygdala is hyper aware, hyper responsive. But you can teach kids about that. And then I, as an educator, using interventions that are tailored to specific moments that are based on my understanding of the amygdala, I can reinforce that explicit curriculum with scaffolded interventions. I can teach kids through what we call neuroplasticity to have access, recall to the stored academic knowledge by helping them foster an implicit reaction to their amygdala response. That implicit reaction is to notice I'm having an amygdala response. Taking a big deep breath. Because by taking a big deep breath, I am engaging my parasympathetic nervous system, which releases neurotransmitters that will calm my amygdala. And then I can use my higher cognitive functions to plan a proactive, positive plan while honoring the fact that my amygdala has an important job. This takes time, and that's an important thing also to remind your students, but also yourself. A teacher has to have done this hard work themselves. That I can, as a teacher, notice when a student's trauma is triggering my trauma, so I can use this process. But because neuroplasticity, which is the paring away of neural pathways that are not beneficial to me and replacing them with new neural pathways, that takes time. And that's fine. That's part of the acceptance. This is where I am. This is my amygdala response. Cool. Thanks, amygdala. Now, what can the rest of my brain do with this information? This is my thought on how I, as an educator, will use neuroscience to inform my practice. Thank you.